Hey everybody, just wanted to shoot a quick update on a couple of my tanks here that I've been working on the last several days. This one is my T-bar tank, and not too long ago I had a million detritus worms floating around this tank, and I also had a thick layer of this really dark, nasty grunge that was growing in there, so we're going to talk about both of them. The detritus worms I have determined were not so much from the substrate as I originally thought. My original idea was that the detritus worms were just down in the substrate, and my T-bar Cichlid, which is down here in this corner, who is also a digger, I just assumed that digging them up, just digging in the substrate was just getting them all stirred up. It also seemed a little unusual that I had so many being stirred up all of a sudden. And when I really got in there and did some work on the tank, I realized that it had really been a long time since I'd been in there working on the filter. And the filter was just nasty and disgusting. It had probably been at least, I don't know, I'm going to say 4 or 5 months maybe. It was a long time based on how gross that filter was. So I cleaned that out. I've done a couple of fairly large water changes. Didn't do too much gravel vacuuming, but I did a little bit. I think just the significance of the large water changes and then putting new, filter material and everything in there and getting the filter and all cleaned out, I've really reduced the amount of detritus worms in there. So we're going to keep on doing that, and in another day or two I'm going to get in there and do some more water changing. And another thing I want to do is I was hoping that if I could kill some of whatever this grunge is, I believe this grunge to be a cocktail of all sorts of stuff growing in there, but my rubber lip pleco in there would not eat any of it, and I believe that was because it had cyanobacteria growing in it. Nothing really eats the cyanobacteria, at least not while it's alive. I have seen on occasion, after I've killed the stuff, I've seen fish go right to town on it. In my gourami tank, I've seen my hillstream loach feeding on the red cyanobacteria after I had killed it with hydrogen peroxide. So in the last couple of times I've done a water change, you can almost see where the line is. I've lowered the water right down to where you can kind of see the difference between the really grungy and the kind of grungy. And I've sprayed everything that was above the surface of the water with hydrogen peroxide. Let it sit for maybe 10 minutes or so while I was getting ready to fill the tank back up, and right before filling it back up I'd give it another good spray to sort of refresh the hydrogen peroxide, and as I'd fill the tank slowly up, the hydrogen peroxide would still sit on the leaves and do its thing. And what would happen was it was killing all of the growth on there, and then my rubber lip is coming over and is actually doing a little more work on cleaning it off. So it's only one little rubber lip in this whole tank, so he's got his work cut out for him. But I think I am going to be able to get on top of it. Now, I'm obviously not going to be able to drain the tank all the way and get some of these lower leaves down here on the bottom, but what I am going to do is treat this tank with some of the red slime cyanobacteria treatment that we are currently using over here on my black ghost knifefish tank. Now, this tank I've treated more times than I can count with the Ultralife blue-green slime stain remover, and it always is effective, but not completely. I've always got some stuff left over, and it's just, I've never really worried that much about it. It always comes back, but someone has suggested, actually quite a few people have suggested, I use the ChemiClean product for the red slime cyanobacteria, which is what usually grows in a brackish or a saltwater environment. It seems to favor that sort of cyanobacteria, but it does grow in fresh water, and I do believe that's what some of this reddish color stuff that I have growing in here is. So yesterday I started dosing the tank. I already ran 2 treatments back to back with the Ultralife product, and I'll put links below to all these products if you want to check them out or go purchase them. There's a link below. You can just go right down there and click on it. It'll take you right to it on Amazon. And I did 1 treatment for 48 hours, did a water change, did a second treatment for 48 hours, did a water change, and then yesterday, after that water change, I added the treatment for the red slime cyanobacteria. and it really seems like it's making a difference. I know it's not your tank, so you're not as familiar with it as I am, but I can tell you just the coloration of what's growing on the glass on the side there and in the back is completely different. So I'm having a big impact on what's in there now that I'm using this new ChemiClean product. And I've used it before. I did have a marine tank once upon a time long ago. Was not very successful with it. And obviously I fought red slime cyanobacteria in it frequently. And the ChemiClean product is what I always used for that. I've always used the Ultralife for my freshwater. And I've always used the ChemiClean for brackish or marine. So this is the first time I'm using the ChemiClean in a freshwater environment, and I was told it would also kill any green slime cyanobacteria that might be in there too. So you can see I've still got mats of this green stuff growing, and that's what always puzzles me. I can never tell whether that's some form of algae or is that the cyanobacteria. If it's the cyanobacteria, why is it just completely unaffected by the treatment? There were certainly others. I mean, there was just sheets of the stuff that were dying right after I started treating it. So why would some of it been affected and not that? You know, and you can see it's in lots of places. I have big clumps of that green stuff. So I suspect that's probably algae, and it's just had the cyanobacteria growing intermingled throughout the algae. If you haven't noticed, I've also got my Serpae tetras in here. If you missed it from the other video, I did move these Serpaes out of the tank we were just looking at, the T-bar tank. They were getting a little too nippy with my angelfish in there, especially since I added those 2 new angelfish. And so now the Serpaes are in this tank, and they fit in just fine, and they look great. So I'm really happy with that move. I honestly don't know why I didn't think about doing that a long time ago. It almost seems like a fairly obvious move now that they're in there. They just go right with the tank and the color schemes and the size and the shape and everything. So once again, don't really know why I didn't think about that long ago. It took me all of 5 minutes to catch them and get them out of there and put them into this tank, and I was done. So there you have it. There they are. So that's going to be pretty much the end of this little update. I just wanted to catch you up on these 2 tanks that I've been working on. They've both been my problem tanks as of late. As I've said several times, I've been slacking down here lately, but I am trying to get caught up. I am trying to get the tanks all looking good again, and we're well on our way to being there. So make sure you're subscribed. That way you won't miss anything I got coming up. Don't forget, this one is my Black Ghost Knifefish tank, and I'll say thanks once again for watching. I hope to see you real soon in the next one.